Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this very special edition of the Main Event Talk right here on YouTube. I am the main event player, the Super C. Come back at you. It is Sunday afternoon, and as most of you guys know, especially when it comes to the Dallas Cowboy fans, you know that it's bye week, so that means there's not going to be any Dallas Cowboy game happening this week. That's why I'm not wearing. That's not, because I usually wear my Romo jersey and everything else like that, and would wear the hat with the glasses and everything else like that, because it matches perfectly, on the Dallas Cowboy game every time. So, bye week is happening, and it's right now. The game I was watching a little bit earlier was the Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans, and I know especially when it comes to some of the people that don't really like the Houston Texans that much because they haven't been doing so well. I understand. I still like the Texans. It's okay because, yes, they're a Texas team, but they're also, an underrated team, in my opinion. But, that's going to be up for debate and everything else like that. Guys, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit serious here because I saw something very interesting on Facebook, and I feel a need to share this with all of you, especially to the people that watch Impact Wrestling every Wednesday. Well, guys, I've been waiting for this a long time, and well, the anticipation of the final episode of Impact Wrestling, we've all been wondering when it was going to happen. And sure enough, the last and final episode is taking place this week. That's right. I was reading through something on Facebook. I think it was through the Pro Wrestling Spotlight or through some of the other Facebook pages I was reading, and I was reading something interesting that said on Spike TV says, quote unquote, I want to get out of the wrestling business. And that's pretty much the quote I've heard from every single Facebook, Twitter page out there. And it's just something that, it kind of annoys me and it kind of annoys a few other people as well. But we knew it was a matter of time before Impact Wrestling comes to an end because once we heard that there was no TV deal done, a lot of people were expecting for Spike TV to hold on to Impact Wrestling a little bit longer, but apparently that's not going to happen. So the question that now remains, and now remains to all of you, what does the future hold for TNA Wrestling? What does the future hold for Impact Wrestling? It feels like we've been through this before and everything else like that. I've been a huge wrestling fan for a long time, and I hate to see a company like TNA Wrestling go down because, I don't think it's going down. I think it's going on a temporary lapse and everything else like that because, as most of you guys know, they have not done any, they're not going to do any thing within, I think they stopped touring around October or November, and then they're going to get back on it until, I think, the beginning of January, so something's going on right there. So you figure TNA Wrestling would have called it quits. A lot of people want TNA Wrestling to call it quits, but at the same time, I would still like to see this wrestling company continue. I don't want it to see it like WCW when it went out of business in March of 2001. It was sad for everybody to see WCW go down the way it did. A lot of key factors had played into the demise of WCW. Most of it had to involve with the signing of Time Warner, the whole thing with AOL, and they wanted nothing to do with professional wrestling. They wanted to kick it out, and what did they do? They go ahead and let Vince McMahon buy out WCW, and that's exactly what happened. And since then, Vince McMahon, he pretty much owns WCW, and he also owns ECW, and he also pretty much owns, everything when it comes to professional wrestling. Nowadays, WWE, I mean, it is still the hottest wrestling promotion going on, whether anybody likes it or not. But when you have other companies that are out there right now, like TNA Wrestling, that was pretty much a great company from the very beginning, but now all of a sudden it's going through its very slow death phase. And I don't have to explain to you exactly, how it's coming out and everything. But to be honest, I really like how the product is now with characters like, Bobby Lashley and Austin Aries and Bobby Roode becoming World Heavyweight Champion, and let's see, Eric Young, and most of you guys, I'd love to see Samoa Joe a little bit more, but as you guys know, he is injured and he's not going to be competing in Impact Wrestling anytime soon. But hopefully we may see him until next year. I mean, I'm sorry to hear about what happened with Joe. He didn't exactly explain his injury, but he was injured. He doesn't want to really tell it to anybody. He said it on Impact Wrestling this past Wednesday night. So, it's sorry to see Joe go down, but it's also sorry the fact that the X Division Championship is now up for grabs. So now, the question remains on the Impact Wrestling's, well, not future, but talk about the X Division title. Who's going to be the next champion? To me, the only person I feel is qualified to be the next X Division champion, I think most of you guys can agree, I think Low Key should be the next X Division champion. He's been a champion before in TNA Wrestling, and it would be great to see him become champion once again. Be awesome to see, everything else like that. Now, as far as the future of Impact Wrestling goes, my opinion, I hope Impact Wrestling does continue, because I am just so sick and tired, and this is me talking to you as a wrestling fan. I'm just so sick and tired of seeing all of these great companies that are being brought up from the bottom, going straight to the top, and then letting other people that pretty much tried to kill certain companies bring it down to, what it once was. Impact Wrestling was such a great company. TNA Wrestling was such a great company a long time ago. When Jeff Jarrett ran the company, it was great. It was done right. Nothing went wrong. I still remember the one little clip that I saw, and I think most of you guys would probably remember this, when Jeff Jarrett took a guitar over to Japan. He went to Japan over there, and Hulk Hogan was about to sign with TNA Wrestling in 2003 after he left WWE again in 2003. Jeff Jarrett comes in and smashes the guitar over Hulk Hogan's head and want nothing to do with Hulk Hogan being a part of Impact Wrestling. Now, this was 2003 to 4. And in my view as a fan, I thought, you know what? That's badass. That's good. You know why? Because as much as I like Hulk Hogan, I don't think he should be in Impact Wrestling or any other wrestling company out there right now. He just needs to be finished already, all right? Just put Hogan out of his misery and let's not have him in TNA Wrestling. And then sure enough, a few years later, we're in 2004. Then all of a sudden 2010 rolls in and Hulk Hogan is business partners with Dixie Carter. And of course, you guys know the rest of the story, what happened with Hulk Hogan, Dixie Carter, and TNA Wrestling. And it's, like I said, it's just sad that the way things are. And all I know is if Impact Wrestling, if this is its final show, I'm not going to say that Impact Wrestling is done. I don't think TNA Wrestling is done. I think the company is going to lay low for a while until they come back stronger than ever around January of next year, 2015. But the question now is, what television show or what network is going to take Impact Wrestling? There's a few networks that come to mind. Obviously, FSN Southwest is one of them because they did start TNA Wrestling first before Spike TV, got its hands on it. Another in particular would be, I'm going to say CMT, that country music place. Because, if you think about it closely, CMT, I mean, it's always been about country and always been about, all those crazy reality shows that they show. I don't see anything wrong with them bringing Impact Wrestling in to CMT. It would make a whole lot of sense right there. I doubt USA will take them because they have the WWE, of course. I would say FX should take them, but I don't know about that. It just doesn't fit right. I mean, the obvious choice would definitely be Spike TV, because you have to remember something. The ridiculous thing that I remember was they said, what I was saying earlier, that they want out of the wrestling business, but yet they started in the wrestling business in 2001. You have to remember something. TNA, or Spike TV, I'm sorry, was known as TNN at the time. It was called the Nashville Network. That's what it was called. And then they changed that whole thing up in 2000 and made it TNN. It was some sort of a different network. I don't know what it was called. That's when they brought in the WWE. WWE had been in USA Network for a long, long time, around, I don't know how many years, and then around 2000, that's when the partnership between USA Network and WWE came to an end, and then they chose to come to Spike TV. And Spike TV, they had the WWE from 2000 all the way down to, I believe, 2005. That was the last, bit of wrestling that they had in the last 5 years. And it was very, very successful. Then, Out comes WWE, and then in comes TNA Wrestling, which is also a very good move on Spike TV's part for them to bring in another wrestling company for them to come up to, and everything. WWE returned to USA Network, and Spike TV would take on TNA Wrestling, and it would become successful within the next 5 years until Hulk Hogan and everybody else arrives, and you know how that story goes. So, Impact Wrestling, I really dig the product. I still am a wrestling fan of it no matter what. I just don't think that it's possible for that company to go down. I know there's a lot of fans that say, you know what? Impact Wrestling just needs to die, man. I mean, Impact Wrestling just needs to go, man. WWE is already better than it is. Well, no fucking shit, Sherlock. They're smarter than that. And more importantly, you have to also understand the people that are really running the company. And I'm not just talking Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. I mean, they may have great ideas and everything else like that, but they choose to go ahead and eliminate certain particular superstars that would become potential. And, where are they now? They're either out in some other wrestling company or they're out doing something else. You guys know about Johnny Mundo, right? Or John Morrison at the time. He would have been the perfect candidate to be a part of Impact Wrestling. But unfortunately, he's with Lucha Underground, and it's better that he stay there because he's doing a whole lot better than he has been in a long, long time. So, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this right now. This is kind of a little bit of a short episode, but I want to conclude it with saying this. I have been a big wrestling fan for a long time, and I do not want to see Impact Wrestling go down for any reason whatsoever. I'd rather see it in a different television network, a different television deal than for Spike TV. If they don't want anything to do with professional wrestling, that's fine. Because here's the thing. Spike TV has Bellator, and Spike TV has all these other crazy reality shows that come on, and people do watch that kind of stuff, And I think Spike TV at one time did have UFC, but now it's, gone to other places, so you kind of see where all this is going. And by the way, if anyone had an opportunity to see Bellator 131, it was a great event. I digged it. The only thing I didn't dig was the Tito Ortiz Stephan Bonner match. Let me tell you something. I was there at home drinking a beer, watching this deal. I was going to leave and go to Theo's to go see the rest of the UFC fight, but just seeing this fight, I mean, I'm glad that Tito Ortiz won, but man, it was just, what the fuck? I mean, why did they put this in the main event match? Why? Why couldn't this be a mid-card matchup? I mean, at least Brooks and Chandler, that match was a whole lot better than watching that and everything else like that. So, nonetheless, Tito Ortiz won. He beat the American Psycho. End of story. So, that's going to do it for this edition of the Main Event Talk. I'm probably not going to do another Main Event Talk until maybe the next couple of days, or maybe next week. Who knows? I got a few things I got to handle. So, once again, the big question that still remains, if you guys are, if you like Impact Wrestling, or if you don't like watching Impact Wrestling, I suggest you head over to Spike TV this coming Wednesday to see its last and final show. And the big question is, what does the future hold for Impact Wrestling? Where will it go from here? Will we ever see it again? And what network will take Impact Wrestling? I hope we see Impact Wrestling come back to television very, very soon. I'm going to miss a lot of things about that company, and not just the great wrestlers in there, not just the great knockouts, because the knockouts are also a big factor in TNA Wrestling as well. They're great, not just hot and sexy. They can kick ass in the ring. That's the truth. I hope TNA doesn't go away, because it's got a lot left over, and something big needs to happen with Impact Wrestling in the future. So guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the Main Event Talk. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Find me there. And also check out all of my latest videos on YouTube, including this one that you're watching right now. Don't forget, this Monday, we are one Raw away from Survivor Series coming up this Sunday, live on pay-per-view and on the WWE Network. You can see it for free. See Lucha Underground this Wednesday. See the final episode of Impact Wrestling on Spike TV. See Friday Night SmackDown. All that's going to take place this week, and I cannot wait. And remember, Turkey Day's next week, guys, so be ready for that. Why? Because I can and I want to. Any questions? Enough said. TNA Wrestling, I dig you. You're the fucking shit. Please don't go away. The last thing we need is another ECW, WCW company to go away.